almost become like a social media, Instagram.
The next thing, Stallone and everybody else come around the ring because they see this is real.
Welcome to Significant. It's a podcast by the Yak. I'm joined today by actor, stuntman, bodyguard, writer,
Coffee drinker.
Dennis Sweeney. How are you, man?
Oh, we started then. How are we?
We have. Yeah. Is this thing on? Yeah.
Is this the real thing? Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. Yes, good.
Where do we start? I mean,
where do we start?
Yeah, you're the one person I know who has reinvented himself more times.
Yes,
more times than McDonald's.
There is another bloke, but where do we start?
Let's start at the. At the beginning.
At the beginning.
Yeah, where are you from?
The beginning's good. I'm from a sleepy little hamlet in the Grampians called Achtermachti, and
To what?
It's the name of it is Achtermachti.
It sounds kind of Arabic. Really.
Does it? Yeah. So I was born there amongst a lot of sheep and shepherds, and my father was a shepherd.
Was he really?
No.
You're just making it up, aren't you? You go,
Okay, well, I don't really want to go. Oh, fuck! Here we go.
Dundee,
I didn't want to say the D word, man. I didn't want to say the
Shout
D
out
word.
to Dundee.
They might be watching.
Yeah, shout out to Dundee.
Should I stay back or
Like a proper actor.
actor, or should I do the Joe Rogan?
There you go.
Hello, Joe.
Yeah.
No, anyway.
But you grew up in Dundee, right? And
didn't want to go
I've read the book, and we're going to get to the book later.
Okay.
Dennis has got a great book out.
This is it. It's called Southpaw,
There it is.
which is a left-handed boxer, someone who leads with their right hand, which was very popular amongst the Russians or the East Germans because they realized that if they take the awkward left-handed stance, they can then... If you see Klitschko fighting, he fights like this. So does Lennox Lewis, actually. But, so it's a scientific... So, the Russians and the East Germans studied strategy rather than just run around the block and beat the shit out of them. So this southpaw stance is a very technical, scientific way of playing with their jab to take away the power that they have. Right. Because normally your jab would be here and my jab would be there and you'd be hitting each other in the face.
I'm a lover, man, not a fighter.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah.
So southpaw is sort of off the cuff. Left. I think in Indonesian it's called kidal. Is the Indonesian word for
southpaw?
Left-handed.
Oh, wait, I've got a call from Singapore. I'm not going to take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, was I boring you?
No.
And and then.
But so just we'll get to the book. But
okay.
But
I was talking about left-handed.
Briefly,
people,
it's not a book about boxing, although boxing features quite heavily in it. It's a book about Asia and characters' kind of experience. The darker kind of side of Asia, right? Yeah.
Yes.
But so Dundee, let's get back to that. So you grew up. I think parts of the book you've used your own kind of life in it. I imagine because it covers sort of Dundee, and there's a family that features there. I imagine that probably is something to do with your own family. I mean, I know there was a sort of boxing history in your...
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a very strong lineage of champions, Like my father was captain of the British team. He had 400 fights. My Uncle Frank, my Uncle Danny were all Scottish champions. My grandfather was actually secretary of the World Boxing Association in 1930 or whatever. They've always put on all the international matches when Scotland fought England, Wales, whatever. So I've always been around the fight game and usually fighting.
Right.
So I had 60 contests myself as a kid, and I grew up. And I think my biggest claim to fame is probably being a sparring partner for Lloyd Honeyghan.
Wow.
So Lloyd used to box at the Fisher Club in London, where I trained.
Right.
And I used to spar with Lloyd like 3 nights a week. We were mates, But he had that extra disciplinary edge that he wanted to be the world champion, and he became it. And it was one of the biggest upsets in boxing when he took that title of Don Curry, who was Olympic gold medal at the he was a stand-in Lloyd Honeyghan. He wasn't supposed to be fighting, and he came in and took the title off.
Wow,
It was
yeah,
1987.
Right.
So he's one of the best. So that was, and also another guy I used to spar with is called Trevor Curry, who just died recently. He was a British heavyweight, another Jamaican, and so a big name who just died recently, Trevor.
So was it boxing that took you down to London from Dundee?
No, I boxed in Scotland, of course, but the good thing about going to London is you have a new record card.
Okay.
So they don't know how many fights I've had.
Won or lost, yeah.
So they think, I'm fighting novices.
Right.
And I've actually, so it was, although, they did try and stitch me up a bit and put me in with bigger, better blow. But anyway, I never lost a fight in London.
Really?
I won them all.
You were fighting what weight?
Welterweight, 10 stone 7.
Right. God.
Which is very competitive. I mean, a lot of people talk about heavyweights being the toughest division. And of course, at that weight and that size, one punch can finish everything. Yeah. So this is the thing with heavyweights. It can just, somebody could be taking a beating from round and just one hit because they hit so hard. But welterweight and stuff is far more competitive because it's the average weight of most guys. So it's really a competitive weight to fight at.
Right,
So,
very fast. Every time I watch it, I mean, it's not so good for TV because it's so fast. Do you know what I mean? You can't see.
Yeah, I mean, which fight sports are good for TV? It's like, you go into MMA. For me, MMA is two big blokes with cauliflower ears wearing bicycle shorts sitting on each other's faces,
Exactly.
It's not, you don't really...
I don't get it.
I don't get it,
No.
And now you got women doing it,
I don't get that either.
I don't find anything attractive about a woman with a cauliflower ear that could put me in a fucking rear naked choke and choke me to death. That puts me, hey, you want a drink, darling?
Yeah.
No, I don't think I would bother.
I don't think you'd be their type, honestly.
You never know,
But then also, I mean, how did the acting thing come along?
Okay, I've always been a bit of a poser. I always fancied myself as... I think it was trying not to work,
Right.
I was like, I don't want a job. I don't want to be a brickie or a sparky or a... And so I sort of picked a profession. Movie star, that'll do. I'll be him. So...
And there's also a great lineage of that, of Scottish, Jim Monkeys becoming, Bond, right? I mean, we had, of course...
James Bond. Actually, you mean Sean Connery?
Sean, yeah.
So the funniest thing, can I tell you a Sean story? Okay, so please. I went to... The acting school I went to in London was called Drama Centre, which was Christopher Fettes, who's famous director in England, who recently directed, what's his name? Colin Firth in Hamlet in the West End. So they were the method acting teachers in the 60s in London. They brought the Stanislavski Actors Studio thing to England.
Right.
So everybody wanted to train with them. So Anthony Hopkins, Sean Connery, everybody. And I remember the teacher, Jaap Malmgren was his name, and he was famous for teaching the Laban technique, which was... all those years ago, it meant nothing to me. Now, as I'm older, I realize that, they were trying to teach you about who you are, what you are, where you come from, and center yourself and all that. We were too young to take it in. I was 21 when I did it.
Right.
But,
I mean, you got in there from an audition, or how did
yes, there was like 2,000 people, something ridiculous audition.
Right.
So I tried to get in the posh schools. RADA, Webber Douglas, and I was doing a piece from being Scottish. I did Macbeth,
right,
which didn't go down too well because I'd go, oh hi, and you'd see them sitting, thank you, okay, next, goodbye, fuck off, and they can we say that? No.
Yeah.
So it wasn't going anywhere, and I thought I'll try one more, and it was the Drama Centre. Now the thing with the Drama Centre is, it's a trendy sort of, left-wingy type thing, not the traditional, it's a rebellious anti-theatre. Because when you go to RADA or Webber Douglas, they train you in traditional Shakespearean stuff. Whereas the Drama Centre is more...
Just mind that microphone, and you keep hitting it, yeah?
Right?
Yeah,
sorry.
You're so, punchy.
Jumpy. Punchy. So when I went for the audition for Drama Centre, and I changed my... audition speech to a sort of Cockney white boy, what my, fucking, but the thing at the audition is they have 2 third-year students on the audition panel, so you're not just looking at these old fuddy-duddies who are going, you've got these younger guys that kind of relate to you, that you're being cheeky, that you're picking a very rebellious piece of theatre to do in front of them, and you're either going to, you know, be welcome with them, or just you're taking the piss, you know, because it was like, oh, fucking come out and this cunt's giving it to me, missus, and I thought, what a wanker, oh, fucking sort him out, you know.
Yeah.
So I
don't remember that bit in Shakespeare in the Macbeth. Was that?
It does in Macbeth.
Famous
So I've
soliloquy.
gone into it. And of course, the teachers look a bit, you know, shocked. But the two fucking third-year students just start pissing themselves laughing. And that's what it was, a comedy piece.
Right.
And if you don't get any reaction on a comedy, it falls flat.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got you now. And the teachers started laughing, and everybody. So that was it. I was in. So I got chosen, which was a huge thing for me at the time.
Yeah.
Coming from a council estate in the Grampians, and to suddenly be exposed to a world that was completely alien to me, you know, because, you know, you had like titled late Lord, Lady, this son and daughter there. You had all these posh people, and I was like, straight off the fucking boat from Dundee. And they'd be like, you know, they'd say things like, Dennis, can you, like, for example, you know, Mariam Da'abo, she was the Bond girl when Timothy Dalton played it.
Okay.
She was the Czech harp player. Beautiful. So she was in my class, you know, and so you had people like that. And then the next thing, Lord Fauntleroy would say, Dennis, could you explain the British class system to our French friend here? And I'd be going, I can, no. So I felt kind of, you know, out of fucking sorts. But so it was a bit, there was 3 working class people got in, and we all got kicked out after 3 or 4 months because we were getting it for free.
Right.
And them days you didn't really get, nowadays you can do grievance studies and puppetry and all this shite, right? You didn't have that nowadays. You had fucking engineers and thingy. So drama was seen as some gay fucking out there, you know, and they didn't give money for it normally.
Right.
So
right. You mean as a grant?
As a grant. Yeah. So everyone else, mummy and daddy, were paying for it, except us. We managed to get grants.
Right.
So they took it seriously. We didn't give a fuck. You know, it was free. But their mummies and daddies obviously were. So we were upsetting them. So we got the bullet. The other guy was, have you seen Absolute Beginners?
Yes.
Eddie O'Connell. So he played the lead. He was my flatmate. We were best mates. We were he was the other one that got kicked out at the same time. You know. So that was it's England. It's the class system.
Yeah.
You've got all these fucking toffs who, you know, couldn't act. And then you had us 3, whatever, and we got the bullet.
So after the bullet, what did you do?
Well, I got the bullet for taking a job. You weren't supposed to act, and I appeared in a film for the National Film School, and I played the lead. And the film went on and I played a French soldier in it.
Excuse me?
Je suis enculé. I played a French soldier, but I was speaking English with a French accent.
Okay.
So I was like, you know. And it won the prize in a French film festival for the best film and the best actor.
Wow.
So then I got booted out of acting school because you're not supposed to work. Right. And they found out whatever. But they had given... So anyway, this teacher, so James Bond and Sean Connery had all studied under him. And I read an interview with Sean Connery when they asked him, who was your teacher? And it was him. He said it was Jack Malmgren.
Okay.
Yeah?
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
So he was an old Swedish ballet dancer. He was gay.
Right.
He was in his 60s, 70s by then, so he probably never had the same power that he had, you know. But I do remember him looking at me and going, Dennis, you are so like the young Sean. They're brutal Scots, you know. So, but they suggested, why are you fucking about in London? Yeah. Why don't you fuck off to Hollywood or somewhere and have a go? Which I did then.
Oh, right, okay.
So I thought, fuck this, I'm going to go and be Marlon Brando somewhere else, you know.
Wow, so you off up to Hollywood, did you?
Well, first was I lived in Manhattan for a year. Okay. I went there. I went to hundreds of auditions, Broadway, on Broadway, off Broadway. Had, you know, small fucking bit parts and this and that. But, you know, at that age, I was more interested in the things New York had to offer that London didn't. Nightlife and all kinds of other things. So I didn't really pay that much attention. I just, I went for, I wasn't that serious about an acting career. I was more interested. I mean, we'd go to 5 or 6 different clubs a night. It was, You know, and that's all I did. You know, when you're that age, you're invincible, right?
Yeah, right.
You get drunk, you fall over, you get up and start again. And
Do it again, yeah.
so the whole acting thing wasn't really... And I sort of tried to affect this English public school area because it would have helped in England. But in America, you know, if they want Hugh Grant, they'll phone up the agency and say, send me Hugh Grant.
Right.
A Scottish fucking Mexican lookalike, which is what they thought I was Puerto Rican or something, they couldn't work me out.
I think Cuban, you probably...
Something like, yeah. Que paso, amigo? So I didn't have a lot of success. I mean, I met a lot of movie stars and hung out with the fucking rich and famous and had a good time, but and then I went to Hollywood. So I stayed in Hollywood for a year. Same again, I met lots of famous people. Sylvester Stallone, Nicolas Cage.
Shout out to Sylvester Stallone.
Well, you know, Stallone used to come at the same gym. I was a boxing teacher in the gym.
Okay.
He never came near the ring.
Right.
He's not a boxer.
Well, he's a great actor, you know.
More than an actor.
Yeah.
He is what he...
Yeah.
You know, I think his mother came in the restaurant and we were sitting having a chat, and he was born with forceps pulled out. You know, when they pull the baby out, and that's why he talks like that, because he was pulled out. You know, so it's not an act. And he's surrounded by big, tough Brooklyn...
Yeah.
Mafia, you know, he's one of them.
Yeah.
And everyone around him was like, hey, well, Sylvester, you want to eat here? What, you know? So he doesn't just pretend to be that.
He is that, yeah.
And one of his kids was autistic, and he was like, I'd give all the money I have in the world.
Yeah.
For not, you know, so...
But so the Hollywood thing, then you did
Nicolas Cage. Can we go to Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, the Nick Cage. Shout out to Nick. Yeah.
So what it was, I was teaching boxing there, and, you know, Nicolas Cage used to come, Stallone. There was a lot of movie stars. It was in the middle of Hollywood. It was on Beverly and whatever. Up in the middle of Beverly Hills,
Mulholland.
in Hollywood. Mulholland, something like that. You know it, yeah.
No, I've never been there.
Anyway, it was called Quest Star.
Right.
And it was the latest of the greatest. They had all the latest machines and all the fancy stuff. I think they went tits up eventually, but... So Nicolas Cage used to come there, and he used to always come up and say hello, and I'd train him a little bit and show him about. And, you know, if somebody wanted to come in and have a spar, he'd come up in my corner and hold the bottle for me and the towel. And,
right, so he was your second.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And then one day, I don't know why, must have been politics, maybe somebody was jealous, because it was a definite setup. I'm just standing talking to Nick or something, and this big guy comes up, like a real heavyweight, and he goes, me and you in the ring. I think somebody there didn't like me.
Right.
So I was like, what? He said, you're the boxing teacher. Let's go in the ring. So I was like, all right, mate, whatever. So Nicolas comes in, and the guy just went for it, tried to kill me.
Really?
You know?
Wow.
But having been in the ring since I was 5 years old, you can take that kind of stuff and realize, wait a minute, we're serious now, are we? So I beat the fuck out of him. And Nicolas was in the corner. But the first round, I took it because you know.
Yeah.
And the next thing, Stallone and everybody else come around the ring because they see this is real.
So there's you fighting this huge guy with Stallone and...
Stallone's
Nick
at the
Cage
side, and Nicolas Cage is in my corner.
Oh, wow.
And I give it to the guy.
Really?
You know, he asked for it. I was like, okay, this is... Because I wasn't ready for it. What he did was, he's a big guy. He came forward with haymakers on top of me.
Yeah.
When I wasn't ready for it, he caught me the first few, and because he was big, he caught me on the hop.
Yeah.
The next round I knew what to do. He only had one method.
Right.
I just brought them up. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing he's fucking on the ropes, and I caned him. But and Nicolas Cage was like, because he was after the first round, he said, Dennis, you didn't even break sweat. I said,
Man, that is really like a movie.
it is
already.
but it was true. And then I was in Stringfellows in London, working there. And Nicolas came in. I was
you went back to London?
This was after it, but a year later. Anyway, Nicolas came into Stringfellows. Right. And we sat in there, and I was working behind the bar. And Nicolas like, all right, mate, how's it going, blah, blah, blah. And he's trying to chat up Peter Stringfellow's missus, you know, one of them page 3, fucking Samantha Foxy. Yeah. And she's not having it. She's like, no. And he's going, Dennis, tell her I'm a fucking movie star. I'll take her to Hollywood tomorrow. And he would have done, you know. And she was saying, piss off, mate.
Piss off,
you
lanky.
So, so he never got you. But yeah, he was, I got on well with Nicolas. But I never mentioned I was an actor to him. I didn't feel like saying, can you get me in the movies?
Well, because he comes from some serious pedigree, right?
I think his uncle is Coppola. No?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I'm just going to open a beer.
Go ahead.
Oh, there we go. So, okay, cool. So, I mean, then the stuntman thing sort of happened with Nick Cage, or what? Because you did some stuff with him, I think, didn't you?
Stuntman stuff, no.
No, okay.
When did I do stuntman stuff?
I don't know. It's just something I heard.
Stunty stuff. Yeah. I did stunty stuff in China when we worked on kung fu films with Jet Li. You know Jet Li?
Okay, yeah, I know Jet Li. Yeah, he's great.
He's dead.
Yeah.
He had a rare blood disease which runs in his hereditary thing.
He was amazing, you know.
He was world champion wushu 5 or 6 times. When he was a kid, he used to go and do demonstrations in the White House in America. So he's total pedigree wushu. Yeah, he's incredible.
So you've obviously got into from the boxing, you've got into martial arts at some points, right?
I think probably in Thailand. When I first went to Thailand, I think 87. And then I went to the boxing club just to do a bit of training. I see all these weird blokes kicking stuff, and I thought, what are they doing, you know? Because we always thought we could beat them, you know? And you learn very quickly that it's you know, boxing is a pair of gloves scoring points and can get, but I mean, Muay Thai, you're using elbows, you're using knees. In Burma, they use the headbutt as well.
Amazing.
So there's a lot more to it. So it's probably, out of all the stand-up sports, is the most lethal and most dangerous. You know? And but again, now you're teaching it to everyone.
Now we've gone into it. So cage fighting came along, and then now it's so mainstream. I can't get it.
Everybody. I mean, look at Canggu. You know, there's a fight club on every corner.
Yeah.
And everybody you look at's got a pair of. Anyway, it's just gone a bit. These used to be sort of secrets that you would learn after years of martial arts, and then when you had the temperament, you could employ them. But now, any mug off the street can walk into some gym and learn how to... And it happens a lot. Like, for example, the choke, right?
Yeah.
How many people just playing around, or with a drunken uncle at a party, or the next thing, you know, the guy's dead because...
No, they used to be, totally illegal in the States, for instance, and now the choke hold and that sort of choking people out has almost become like a social media, Instagram. It's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you see
TikTok,
that, who was it? And the Vice guys, those mad... excuse me.
Oh, the two brothers. Yeah, the two that went around the Fight Club guys.
Yeah, and they just, they film each other getting choked out. You know, I just don't think that's very good for you.
Well, of course it's not, because it stops the oxygen. You know.
Yeah.
I went.
Do you know how to choke somebody out?
Of course.
Okay.
But I mean,
just wanted to check. In case
No, but
I've got your number, right?
Yeah. No, I did jiu-jitsu. You know, I did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I've been to a few seminars with the Gracies. Hoist Gracie and Hoyler, and they demonstrated, and it's not about strength, you know, because I got a bit carried away in sparring once, and he took me over and said, mate, you know, it's not about power. He said his 4-year-old daughter can choke him out. It's about stopping the blood in certain place, and you can do it with just the pressure of a finger, or that's enough, because and the weird thing about being choked out, you never been choked out?
No, I'm not. I'm okay, thanks, Dennis. Yeah.
Anybody else fancy a choke?
Fleety, you up for a choking out? Yeah.
There's a Fleety over there. So it's not about, but what it is, and this is the beauty, if you want, of jiu-jitsu, is that if you put somebody in a chokehold, you stay away from here. This is going to make somebody panic.
The windpipe, you mean?
Yeah. So it's not about, if I start, you know, fucking about with somebody's windpipe, they will find superhuman strength to get me off, because they'll panic because I'm there.
Yeah.
So it's not around. I don't want to demonstrate or tell anybody what it is. But there's another part where you go and all you're doing is closing that oxygen to that part. And what it does then, it creeps up on you, because when somebody's got you in one of them, he's not choking you.
Yeah, so
he's
not
just
panicking.
Holding you. So you're like, I'm all right here. Yeah. The next thing, you're not all right, and it's too late.
It's how you humanely kill animals, honestly, isn't it? And I've been to Africa. I've been around, mate.
They choke animals.
You got to kill a goat or something. And if you're going to eat meat, and I'm a big guy for, you're going to eat the meat at least once in your life. You need to be killing something to eat.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, come on, give it some respect. So. Yeah, I mean the easiest way is a sort of knee across a shin across the across the neck, and it sort of passes out, and then.
So you choked animals in Africa? I never knew this about your past.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I did it once, and then you butcher the animal to eat it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, if you're gonna eat it, and then if you eat meat, then at least give once in your life. get down and dirty with an animal, and there are humane.
Well, that was
anyway. That's very morbid. Let's get off.
Hey, let's.
You only eat vegetables these days.
Cheery stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't eat veg. I got on the keto diet recently. Yeah.
Right, which is basically we used to call no carbs. It's just sort of no bread.
Yeah,
no
sort of high fat, high protein diet. Yeah. I follow a guy on YouTube. His name's Dr. Bergs, Bergs.
Shout out to Dr. Bergs.
Dr. Bergs is the man. I mean, he has these huge conferences and people from all over the world, and almost every sickness is diet related. You know, he says stop eating that. He asks people what they eat.
Yeah,
and so it's not a one.
Well, sugar's the bigger one, right? I mean, that's
huge.
The one that kills.
It's insulin spikes that it causes. So it's not actually hunger we're feeling.
Right.
We always, because you get so used to having insulin spikes that your body tells you want more of that. So the more you cut out sugar, the less insulin spikes you get, and the less you feel hungry. You know, because if you're always eating sugary or carbs, which have sugar, then you will feel your body. So
let's just close out the acting part of your life first, and then we're going to get onto what you're doing now, because some very interesting things going on with Mr. Sweeney, and you're still beating up the.
Sorry, mate, I don't know what to do. Tie me down, somebody.
Yeah, someone tie him down.
Kangaroo down.
Well, talking about the time of Kangaroo down, weren't you in Crocodile Dundee?
I wasn't in it, but what happened was I was in Darwin, and I was working in a hotel. There was only one hotel, I think, in Darwin at the time. And the next thing, they're making a movie. So all the crew and everyone's staying in the hotel. And we didn't know, but that was actually Crocodile Dundee was being made there and then. I never met Paul Hogan, but the Aboriginal actor, I think his name is David Talgourley. I'm not sure if he's still around. But he is like the most famous Aboriginal actor. He's been, every time you see an Aboriginal actor.
I think he passed didn't he? Last year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got really matey with him, and we used to go to the pub a lot together.
Right.
He was a pretty cool dude, but you know, who would have known at that time it would have become such an iconic film that they were. So they were shooting it in Darwin when I was there, and I used to hang out with. I wasn't in the film.
No, right. Okay. What films were you in?
What films was I in? Well, Eat, Pray, Love.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, Eat, Pray, Love. That circus came to town, didn't it, in Albert? Yeah.
Yeah.
And my God, there was everybody was in that though.
Well, I mean, that was due to me because my job was hiring extras. I was head of extras casting, so I got all my friends in it.
How come you didn't call me? I didn't get it.
Well, you had to be handsome and young and virile. No, I mean, I got most of my friends. Well, you didn't want to be in it, did you?
I have no idea. I mean, I can't remember. It was in, what was that, 19...
When was it?
2000? I don't know. It was a while ago.
No idea. But that was interesting. I mean, I've been around films and worked on films and stuff before, so I kind of knew what to expect. But normally I worked as an actor or an extra. So this was kind of the first time for me behind the scenes.
The business, yeah.
And it's hard work, you know.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, it's like a 5 a.m. call, and then you're up.
For them, I'm up before them, and then go to bed afterwards.
Right.
And the thing was, there was a bit of politics because they had given a certain company the job, or a certain bunch of individuals the job, and then at the last moment, because I was actually going to do the security for the film.
Right.
And at the last minute, they realized that these people weren't really up for the job because they needed 200 people signed up, pictures ready to go.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any.
Right.
And this was the week before. So they, what are we going to do? And somebody said, call Dennis, you know.
Oh, well, that's a good,
And I was like, I can do that.
Good.
So, but because of whatever politics, the individuals involved were still kind of employed. And they were very unhappy about the fact that I had just made them look like idiots. So the way the chain of command went was that when they said, okay, we finished shooting today after an 18-hour day, they would then go to them and say, we need these people for tomorrow. So I wouldn't get this information until after. And suddenly, and the joke was because they say, I want a ginger, I want a black guy, I want, you know, an elephant. We used to joke about it because, you know, I want the elephant here. So suddenly I'd get the list at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night after an 18-hour day saying, tomorrow we need 2 gingers and Javier Bardem look-alike. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So I'd go straight to the Sky Garden or wherever and walk around 4 in the morning and say, mate, you want to be in a Hollywood film? And most people would go, piss off, mate. You know, especially girls.
Yeah.
Look, darling, we need a couple of blondes for tomorrow. So, but I did it and I pulled it off and I said I would. But they made it harder than it should have been because of this chain of...
It's not an easy business, is it, really?
And the egos. You're dealing with people who think that they are
the best.
Bigger and better than everyone else. And they're not. So that on top of it,
talking about, well done for the Eat, Pray, Love and getting that off the ground.
Yeah.
Saving the planet there.
Yeah.
And didn't that go on to win, it's a massive film that was, really. It was a massive book, actually.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the big and the egos and the big and the brave and all the rest of it. Well, you were a bodyguard, I think, as well. I think you did security for a while there, yeah?
Still do.
Yeah? Oh.
Yeah, I was there last week looking after the CEO of a giant company, but I don't think I can say who.
No, you better not. Yeah,
no,
because they'll have you killed. Yeah.
Well,
no, it's just a joke. But
it's not a joke.
That's a particular skill, And I want to break into an Northern Irish accent.
Go on then. Yeah, hello there. I fucking know people.
I have a particular set of skills. There's Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
No, but it's a curious job because clearly you need to know how to deal with situations, but it's sort of the pre. It's knowing what's going to happen sort of before it happens, I guess, and preventing things from progressing. Right?
Yeah, well, that was
the biggest part of the job. Do you think?
Well, that was the biggest part of my job because they have something called the advance team, which was me normally.
Right.
So I would fly to a location and hook up with, if it was a big company, Microsoft or Caterpillar or whatever, they have offices there. So our executives are coming in to meet with them to do whatever it is they have to do. So I would go there first, liaise with whoever was in country for that particular company for their events or whatever meetings they were doing. And then I would get all the information. I would take the times of travel. I would check the hotels. I would go to the police, the whatever, and the hospitals, and make sure that every second of every day is accounted for.
Wow.
Where they're going, how long each trip takes, who's coming in each car.
Wow.
So there's a lot of logistics. And then normally, if they're big enough, they're coming with their own security guys.
Right.
So, and then they come in and I've done all the work, and they come in and think they're tough guys. And most of them, they might be tough guys, but, they normally come from army, military backgrounds.
Yeah.
And, they might be handy on the battlefield, but logistically, they haven't had to wipe their own arse for 20 years. They've had their food delivered. They've had their bedding. So when you put them in a place like Calcutta or fucking,
Bangkok
or whatever, and say, they're full of, fucking shoot everybody. Yeah, they're all dead, right? Yeah. The way they do it
they can't
doesn't always work. So,
couldn't even get a Gojek meal,
Right.
Yeah.
So normally this is what happens. I will go and arrange stuff, and then the big tough guys will come in and act like big tough guys. But they don't always. I have to tell them this is different. This is language skills are much better than fucking big muscles.
Yeah,
of
course. Yeah.
Just to be able to understand the local culture.
Talk something down. Yeah.
And so this gung-ho Marine, shoot everything you say, might work in Iraq or Afghanistan, but doesn't work in,
no, of course
big city like Tokyo. I was in Tokyo looking after, my Japanese is actually pretty good.
Nihongo wa daijoubu desu ne.
Nihongo sugoi jouzu. あそこね、2年間ぐらい、勉強した、学校でちゃんと勉強しましたからね。
本当。
そう、本当。はい。
すごいね。
ね、すごい、僕がね。絶対すごい. Anyway, what are we talking about?
We're talking Japanese, just for those out there.
We're talking Japanese.
We're fluent Japanese people. Well, I'm not, but...
私は Dennis です。
私は Nigel です。
はじめまして。元気ですか？はい。どのくらいここにいたの? Go on.
So there was a Japan period for you as well?
Yes, Tokyo 2 years.
Yeah.
Running nightclubs.
Right.
Madness. Never slept. Never saw the daytime.
What a city, Tokyo. I mean, certainly back in the, I guess, in 90s, 80s?
No, 80s.
What a
86, 88, yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been a movie, and Blade Runner sort of got close to it, but
yeah,
there hasn't been a movie.
They don't get
really...
it. And I mean, I was up there not that recently, just before COVID, and it gets madder and madder.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets more and more crowded, and more and more people moving. You just do not see that kind of numbers of people moving anywhere else.
No, right. Shinjuku, kind of in the morning.
Shibuya, anywhere now.
Shibuya.
It's all Shibuya now.
Yeah.
It's just gone mad.
Yeah.
But, you know, the pressure of living in a place like that, people are crazy.
Yeah.
You know, people are mad. People are frustrated.
They're bent out of shape, aren't
They're not happy. You know, if you look into a lot of the things that happen up there, it's not a healthy.
No.
I mean, the mountains are wonderful. I go up to Nagano, I go snowboarding. It's the best place in the world. It's beautiful. The people are great. It's great in the winter. Hot springs, you know, it has all that to offer. But the cities are, hard work.
Yeah.
Scary. I couldn't live in a city again after living in Bali for such a long time.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Once you get to Bali and you kick your shoes off, you're like,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it.
How long's it been for you in Bali now?
Can I say that, or will they come look at me? Well, I
don't
think
know.
84 was my first trip here.
Right,
On the way to
1984,
Australia.
yeah.
Yeah, 84.
Yeah.
And then pretty much on and off since 87.
Yeah.
So, which is quite a lot.
Shitloads of years, yeah, man. A lifetime, really, yeah.
Yeah,
Think
and
about
so for me, having lived in America, having lived in Australia, having lived in Africa, having lived in Tokyo, you know, been around the block a few times, same thing. I got here, kicked my shoes off and thought, this is nice, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the energy. It has to be on an
Right.
energetic level. People are chilled here, you know. They don't overthink stuff.
Yeah.
I think this is the big difference.
You're talking about Balinese.
Indonesians in general
Yeah.
are, you know, they don't overthink stuff. They're more intuitive. They're more in touch with their...
I read somewhere recently that thinking takes up the most amount of energy in order to, if you think of something, because normally our bodies are like a brain is set up to forget stuff so that it can automate, right?
Right.
So you automate, you don't think about it. But if you actually start to think about stuff, if you're intellectually or whatever, the amount of energy it takes the body to do that is extraordinary, right? And it creates enormous stress on. I'm not saying you should be stupid, but there are times at which and peoples and cultures that are able to, you know, not stress over the small stuff.
Switch that
right?
off. And Indonesians have that expression, stop overthinking it, it will make you old.
Yeah.
Because it will, because it will use up your whole life force. So it's not about being stupid, it's about a balance between the analytical mind and the intuitive mind, you know, and if you can strike that balance, and the way to strike that balance is to be present and to be involved, and they call it, in Buddhism, they call it mindfulness. And so the Balinese are very mindful because they're always involved in their ceremonies, making stuff, and that physical action that we do. Whereas if you're sort of stuck behind a desk or overthinking problems and that, you're disconnected. So again, it's all about disposition, not circumstance.
So let's let us into another part of your life, which I hate to use the word spiritual, but I know you've been to Thailand, you've done silent retreats, you know, you've studied Buddhism, you've studied Hinduism, you've studied other religions, I imagine, and Shinto and all the rest of it. And I know you're involved with healing, if that's not a phrase that is too offensive, but let's just talk about that a bit. I mean, and what you're doing now with one aspect of your life, which is helping people overcome
blockages.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a company now. It's called Mind Tuning Bali.
Right.
.com, but the website's down today, so don't look today. But it's called
Mind Tuning Bali. Okay, cool.
And it's based on...
Is this the sales part that we're doing now? Or is it...
No, you ask me, tell me what I'm doing. I'm
just joking. Go.
So donations, please, on a postcard to me. No, it's based on a discipline called Psych K, which is an offshoot of NLP. Have you heard of NLP?
That's the
neuro-linguistic program.
I've heard of it, but I've never really got it.
Okay.
You know, I don't know what it is. I've never practiced
Okay,
it.
well, what it was...
But people I know bang on about it.
Okay, they do. It is a subject that one bangs on about. There's a lot of banging. Whereas Psyche, there's not much banging. It's very quick and effective. Okay, I was in London. It was, and I opened the Evening Standard one day, and I put this in my book, and it said, "Stop smoking for free. Come along." And I thought, okay, you know, I've had run-ins in different chemicals and different, you know, drank a lot in my life, and one thing I was never able to give up was the smokes. You know, everything else you kind of. At some point, you think too much of the, you know. I
cigarettes,
hepatitis. You know, I had to stop drinking. All this, the cigarettes, just something that's always been there. I mean, I got expelled from primary school for smoking cigarettes, so I go way back. You know, all my family having. Remember when I used to box? They say, "What do you want between rounds?" I used to say, "Lay up a fag and give us a drag on it." You know. So I just thought it's an impossibility that I'll stop smoking. So this sign said, "Come along," and it was an Australian bloke. NLP teacher who had tried it on himself because he taught NLP, like this neuro-linguistic program, mind shift, you know, and he thought he put a few of the techniques together to stop smoking, and he'd been a chain smoker all his life. Boom, and he stopped. So he thought, I wonder if this is really going to work. So he advertised in the paper. Anyway, I stopped within 3 or 4 days, like that, and I became his assistant.
Just talk us through what NLP is.
NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It's, I mean, how long have we got?
No, just like briefly, like elevator pitch.
Okay, NLP is a way of quickly shifting. I can't even make it that. You'd have to go into the history of it.
But how do you do it? What is it, like a series of exercises?
Oh, they can be hypnosis, self-hypnosis. They can be writing, automatic writing. There's a million different techniques and thingies. So
central principle?
Central principle would be to distract the conscious mind so that you can make a subconscious change.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah? Same as like you do in meditation.
Yeah.
You transcend the thinking mind.
I do that with podcasts these days. Do you know? So I'm lying in bed. So if I can't sleep, you know, I shut my eyes. My mind turns to dreadful thoughts, you know, and because the wiring is just there from away. But if I put in my earphone a podcast, let's say like this, you know, it gives my conscious mind something to be busy with.
Yes.
And allows my subconscious, and I go to sleep. And I sleep wonderfully.
Yes.
And I wake up, you know, 4 hours later with the thing still playing in my ear, which I haven't heard a thing of. But it has engaged a certain part of my brain and allowed me to close down the narrative that would otherwise be there. You know, so is that NLP?
I guess so. Wow. And that's meditation.
And I've discovered that all on my own.
But I think what you have then is an overactive intellectual conscious mind, and that's one way of doing it. But there's probably other ways of approaching that.
Well, I've tried the other ways, and they're not healthy.
That hasn't worked so far. But if that works for you, that's great. But I know people like that. I have a friend who has to sleep in front of a blaring loud TV.
Right.
And then he sleeps.
Similar principle.
You know, and he gets up, and I'm like, how the fuck can you sleep? And he turns it on, that big lies next to it.
No, I think that's the same as
distracts his mind. So
a certain part of your mind,
Okay, so anyway, this no smoking thing. So I became his assistant.
Yeah.
And we went around colleges in London teaching this, and it was fascinating. And when I came back to Bali, I tried setting up a stop smoking thing myself too. But one of the frustrating things about NLP, and this is what I want to get into, is it might work on you. Like you said, it works for you, this noise, to switch it off. It might not work for him.
Right.
So when you're taking money for this...
Well, it might not work also at different parts in my life. That's the other thing. So, I mean, 10 years ago, I couldn't have imagined doing that. I would have found it very irritating. It would have kept me awake.
Yeah.
But,
So there's not a one-glove-fits-all healing process for everybody.
Right.
So the problem with NLP was that, so if we would have a no-smoking class, and you'd have, 10, 20 people in the class, half of them would say, hallelujah, Jesus, I gave up the smokes yesterday, I'm stopped. And the other half say, give me my money back, this is a load of shit. Because this is the problem. Because the originator of NLP, his name was Milton Erickson. And if you ever get a chance, Google him.
I will.
And he was a master hypnotist.
Okay.
And he started with, it was after the Second World War. People never took hypnosis seriously because Freud couldn't do it. He couldn't put people under. So he came up with this whole mother love, whatever, dark, and actually...
The Oedipus thing,
Yeah. Whereas, so it was really... it wasn't really taken seriously till after the Second World War. And Milton Erickson was one who started working with PSDT or whatever it is, with people coming back from the war.
Right.
And he's an amazing man. And if you get a chance, look on YouTube. He's in a wheelchair. He had polio. He's disabled. And he just asked questions. And he could hypnotize people like that.
Really?
So what they've done with NLP is try to model what he did. But I'm not Milton Erickson, and neither are you. This guy was a 1 in a million. So this is the frustrating thing, trying to use his techniques. And he's amazing. I mean, he used to do like the American Olympic team would hypnotize them into winning golds because the Russians were winning. And one great one, I see him interviewing the shot put guy. So he says to the shot put guy, and he's this little creepy man on his, how far do you throw the thing? And I go, whatever meter, 70 meter, I don't know how far. Oh, yeah. Could you throw, do you know what 70 meters looks like? Yeah, of course I do. That's how far it goes. Can't go any further. Can you imagine 70 meters in 1 inch? And he goes, no. Think about it. Next fucking Olympics, he throws it 70 meters in 1 inch because he's put that in his subconscious that that's a possibility because he couldn't see past. So he does all these things. So they use modeling for like Olympic athletes and NLP. They will pick someone who's good at something and use their modeling. What pictures, because it's about pictures, sounds, and feelings, your subconscious. It's not about intellectualizing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to change the picture, sound, and feeling. So, for example, public speaking, right? I like public speaking.
Yeah.
I was an actor.
Yeah.
If I stand up in front of people, I see them laughing.
Yeah.
And normally that's what happens. They laugh because I've created that.
Yeah.
My missus, on the other hand, is terrified of public speaking. And so I ask her what she sees if she imagined herself, and she sees big faces and people staring down at her.
Yeah.
So we change that picture.
Yeah.
That's all.
So let's just talk about the missus. Shout out to the missus, by the way.
Hello, missus.
Yeah. But let's just, as an example, let's say working with her, because everybody's had a situation where they've been terrified about public speaking. And
No, they haven't.
No.
I've never had a...
No, but the people generally, it's a generalization.
I don't think, well...
No, you have had it, but you just don't remember, probably, yeah.
But generalizing, saying people are afraid of... It may be a big thing, yes, sorry.
It's a big thing, clearly, for
a lot of
let's
people.
say for the missus. It's a big thing, right?
Okay, for the majority, okay, you're right. So,
as an example, I mean, a lot of people do have fear.
Yeah, they do.
At some
You're right.
point.
It's massive.
Some people get over it, and some people never do.
Yeah.
Now, what is the difference?
Well, I would say the difference is trying it and doing it and realizing it's not that frightening. But the biggest difference is to change that picture.
Yeah.
To picture, sound, and feeling. It's called a VAC, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So when you have an experience that you're having problems with, or you if you imagine yourself, normally you realize that you can't imagine yourself doing it. You don't see yourself in that situation. So what you do is imagine yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
There's different ways in NLP. One of them is a screen. You imagine, like if you have people uncomfortable with flying, right? They don't like flying, they panic when they get on a plane. So you put them in a room, you say, okay, sit down, close your eyes, relax, a little bit of a hypnotic induction. You very general, you're sitting. You never say anything definite in a hypnotic induction. You don't say a fish came on a bicycle. You say, okay, you're lying back. You see the clouds. There might be a seagull in the, so you suggest. It's suggestive stuff. So you put people in this. And then you say, you're sitting in a cinema. And then you're floating above yourself inside the cinema. So you're now 3 times removed from the traumatic experience that you're about to see on the screen. And then you say, and you see yourself walking up towards the plane. And you take them through the whole journey, and they're 3 times removed from it.
Right.
So with the next time they come, that fear is gone. I used to do it on the building site in London and do it with the brickies coming, I'm going to Spain next week, I'm fucking terrified. Yeah. I'd say, sit down, imagine you, and then they go, thanks, then I went and didn't fucking, That's how brickies speak in London. But
like they're chewing a brick.
Yeah. But so you remove them, so they take away the fear.
Apologies there to all bricklayers.
Yeah, sorry. Some of my best friends are bricklayers, and I treat them as if they're absolutely normal.
No disrespect to bricklayers.
No.
Okay, so the point, what you're saying is, again, getting back to sort of my analogy with using the podcast to separate my fearful mind, if you like.
Yeah, suspend or transcend the thinking mind is what they call it.
Okay, so that's NLP. We've nailed NLP.
Have we?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And shout out to Milton. But you're doing a sort of an offshoot of it.
I'm doing something called Psyche. So it all... So Milton Erickson was Milton Erickson, and please look on, Google him. An amazing, talented, made so much contribution to mental health, incredible man. But me too. When I came back to Bali and started setting up stop smoking classes, half of them would stop and half of them wanted their money back, so I found frustrating. So a gentleman in America, and his name is Rob Williams, not the comedian that died, a different one.
Okay.
He was an NLP instructor for 20 years, or 25, a long time. Yeah, he was, and he had the same frustrations because you feel like a con man then, because, for example, like,
it does have that connotation, NLP, I have to say. It is seen as a sort of a pseudoscience,
Well, of course it would be, because it's a challenge to the medical. They want to give you tablets. They don't want to say, you take these and you feel better. NLP doesn't do that. So, of course, it will be slagged off by them. Anything that's half decent will be slagged off by them. Where was I? Rob Williams, So he, after 20 years of this frustration, because he wanted to help, but, felt like a fraud. So one night he went outside and he burned his books.
Okay.
He said, I can't do this anymore. And he burned his books. And then he got a sort of downloady type thing saying, why don't you do it in this order, basically? So...
in this new order.
No, new world, So similar to when there's no smoking thing in London. When I went to see him, he was an NLP teacher who helped people with traumas. And then he tried this little... order of things. One was automatic writing, one was self-hypnosis, to see how it worked for smoking, and miraculously it worked for him. So this is what reminded me of what happened with Rob Williams. He got this sort of message, so it's nothing new, it's still NLP, but put them in this order. Now this might sound weird to you, and I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's probably an ancient ritual.
Okay.
If you look at the Balinese when they're doing these amazingly complex rituals, if that chicken's not in the right place and that fucking, then it's all wrong because you're inviting in the wrong energies. Stop.
Right.
So I think with NLP, these are nothing new. They've been around for thousands of years. You put that self-hypnosis, left brain, right brain, corpus callosum, bridge in between, whatever it is, a certain poses that allow the information to pass between the left and right brain and conscious and subconscious, taking those into account, then you will have a healing technique that will work across the board for everyone as long as you do it in that correct order.
Wow.
So what he got was this download, and he tried it on himself, and then he started. So this is, having done most types of healing modalities, I've indulged and tried yoga, breath work, body work, chanting, kissing frogs, skipping around the day, whatever. I've done all of it.
Firewalking?
No,
I didn't do it. There's something for your old age, that one.
What was the, and...
Do you think that's it? You've got so the Psyche. Is it something that we could book with you, for instance?
Yes, of course. I have a company called Mind Tuning Bali. My office is above Jenar Restaurant. The information will be there. I charge 700,000 rupees.
Okay, that's enough information there.
Is that?
Yeah, because you haven't included my commission yet.
Oh yeah, sorry, 750.
Okay, so listen, I smoke. Do you think how long would it take you to make me stop smoking? The threat of violence would probably help.
Threat of violence. Well, if you follow these steps, then anything up to about 10 days, I would think. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not that hard. The main thing with this is it's called automatic writing before you sleep.
Okay.
So you do about 20 minutes of writing, how it would be.
Right.
And but there's a structure to it.
I mean, you say physically writing,
physically writing, but not really paying attention to.
Okay, so that
it's more about the energy.
That's a great segue into me promoting my book here.
Oh yes, here we go.
Shameless self-promotion. Where's my camera? There's my camera. It's called Eating the Wind. Don't read his rubbish. This is much better, and it's published by Mr. Content Asia, which happens to be me as well.
All right.
No, just joking. Anyway, Eating the Wind. Check out. It's on Amazon, as is Southpaw. It's available on Amazon. Check out Dennis's amazing book that will blow your mind.
And I've done the audio book, so it's me speaking. So you
me too. Me. I think we both did it with Martin East.
Oh, we did. Martin East. Hello, Martin.
Shout out to Martin. Yeah,
the director.
We had him in last week, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. So. That's very interesting. So you're doing that almost as a sideline. I know you've got other stuff going on, which is very varied. You're a very varied and talented man, and you've obviously looked at so many different avenues of life. You know, man, from violence through to protection, through to acting, you know, through to writing. And you've pretty much through to stand-up. We haven't even got to your stand-up comedy, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a great stand-up comedian, you know, but you've never really, I don't know, you haven't picked one. You've always chosen other things to do and taken them as far as you can take them, and then gone on to something else, right? What's stopped you from choosing one and being really brilliant and world-beating at that one thing, do you reckon?
Well, I think boredom. I mean, once you take something on and say, I really want to be this or I really want to be that, and then once you've been there, you're like, okay, I'll try something else. So I think this is what excites me.
So money's never interested you, or
I've
fame?
never been, I guess, yeah, of course I wanted to be the next James Dean, the next Marlon Brando when I was here. What it was, I saw Midnight Express when I was about 16 or 17, and when I was younger, I really resembled that bloke. Everybody came up and said, "You look like whatever his name, Brad Davis or something." And like it was on how many people used to come up and say, "You look like him." I did look like him, so I thought, okay, I'll be him then. Right. But again, I wanted to travel. I wanted to broaden my mind. I wanted to be in different places. And the idea of being tied down, whether it was as an actor or anything, just didn't appeal to me. So, you know, I was in Hollywood for a year, and then eventually I was like, oh, fuck this. You know, I'm going someplace else. Traveling was...
Did you get sort of turned off by a scene? I mean, let's say Hollywood. Were you sort of disgusted or turned off by the scene there that sort of pitched you into another avenue, or are there things that turn you and trigger you?
Okay, well there I was. I'd been to acting school, one of the best in England. I showed up at auditions where they want an English actor or blah blah blah. But you know, I didn't really realize at the time most of the jobs are already gone. These auditions are just for the unions demand them. And I remember when I showed up for in Hollywood, and it took like an hour and a half to get there. There was hundreds of people waiting, and it was a play called The Slab Boys, which was on Broadway with Nicolas Cage and Sean Penn, and it was in Glasgow. It was a Glaswegian play. I remember seeing it on TV. So I went along for this. I thought, maybe I'll have a shout here. And there's all these Hollywood sort of trying to do Scottish, I don't know what accent they were trying to do, British accents, you know. So I thought, I might have a chance here, you know. So again, and again, there's some sort of, okay, next up you go, you know. I started reading in Scottish because it was a Scottish play, you know, and after about 2 words, the guy's like, next, you know.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, And then the woman stood up, there was the assistant director, she said, hang on a second, I think this guy's British, that's a British accent. I said, no, I'm Scottish, but you're obviously not looking for fucking authenticity, are you? So I never got that job, but yeah, that kind of thing, I was like, why am I fucking bothering?
Yeah, is it how are you with authority?
Yeah. No, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Can I just, talking of which, being turned down, Ubud Writers Festival?
No.
I mean, I appreciate what they do.
Let's be kind. You know, we love the Ubud Writers Festival.
We love it.
We love anybody that loves books, and that's it. We're going to leave it there, Dennis. But we're not going to leave the podcast there, but we're going to move on.
Was Salman Rushdie there one year?
No, he hasn't been there. He's just been stabbed.
I know. Fuck me, man.
No, man. That's just like, we thought everyone had forgotten about that. But obviously not.
Would you want to be doing public speaking if they've had...
Oh, man, it was 30 years ago. He had his fatwa and all this.
Yeah, but that $1 million, still $1 million to that family.
Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
No.
I'm more interested in you, man.
Yeah.
And, okay, so apart from the NLP... forgotten the name of the website already.
Oh, mindtuningbali.com.
Mindtuningbali.com,
which is down today, but it'll be up again tomorrow.
Down today.
Yeah, it's been up for a year.
It's taking a break. It's taking a subconscious break. Yeah. You've got other stuff going on, which you just mentioned to me as we were coming in the studio, and which again blows my mind. You said you're doing you've got a racetrack.
Yeah.
for
Drift driving.
Drift driving.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
what the? I mean, in Bali.
In Bali.
So drift driving presumably is like getting into a fat car with a fat tires and on oil and sort of
That sort of thing.
drifting around, learning how to drift around corners and
Well, they
do donuts.
Yes, well, that's what it is. Drifting, they don't race. It's the fastest growing motorsport in the world. They have huge competitions in Europe, you know. So drifting, they don't race each other. It's the tricks that you do on the way around, so they don't make the same tricks. So it's not a race. It's more of a show pony thing.
Right.
How many? And there's some incredible. I seen a guy doing it on the top of the Great Wall of China, like just hanging over the side and back again.
Oh.
So. It's called, the website is called ignitionb.com.
Okay.
So if anybody wants more information, so we should be up and running by October. We've got 3 Toyota Corollas, which are the best drifting cars because they're back-wheel drive.
Souped up, presumably.
We've been licensed by Fédération Internationale Automobile, which is the French world body of. So you have to have a driving school for 10 years before you can even apply. So all our cars are passed through their safety standards. So we had to buy their bucket seats, their belts, their safety. So we are approved. This is the real thing.
Wow.
Our instructor, his name is B. He's a fighter pilot for the Indonesian Air Force before. He was brought up in England. He was taught to drive by Colin McRae, the rally driver, the world champion rally driver.
Oh, I was going to say bank robber, but
Who was he?
a different
Colin
McRae.
You're thinking of George McRae. But so you know, he's Mr. Drift in Indonesia, and incredibly talented guy. So I think we're going to start off at Donald Trump's golf course.
Excellent. Shout out to Donald Trump. No, that wasn't a shot of encouragement. I saw him on the golf course yesterday, but that shot of him and the other mafia blokes.
Oh, yeah?
He's going down.
Is he?
I hope he's going down.
God,
yeah.
no, it's what-
Yeah. Don't tell me you're.
But anyway, no,
you're not a Trump supporter.
I didn't
are you?
say it. Look,
Are you?
yeah, look.
Yeah, are you? Are you? Are you? Are you?
I don't support anyone.
You are secretly a Trump supporter.
I'm a secret Trump supporter.
Oh my God. That's
You're a
it. That's
Biden.
it.
You're a Biden fan.
I'm not a Biden. Well, I am. You know, he's a nice old bloke, isn't he? Yeah. Anyway, so the drifting. Where is that going to happen?
In Donald Trump's golf course.
Which is in the sort of
Nirvana.
Nirvana Tabanan way, yeah,
Out that
there.
way.
yeah.
So we can
Overlooking Tanalot.
Yes, because they're gonna
God.
wait until the big road comes in before they develop that.
Okay.
So it's going to be another year. So we can use that. So we can use that for rally driving.
Is it actually on his ex-golf course?
It's not his ex-golf course. It's his golf course.
No, I'm sure they sold it, didn't they? Because they
Did they?
Yeah, because they couldn't. Well, certainly the Trump organization has backed out of it.
Have they? Oh, I didn't
because
know.
they were going to. They don't own the land, right? It was just going to be. It was a management contract. I thought. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, the point
we
is,
can
you're
use
going to be rally driving on Donald Trump's.
Yes. So
Shitty golf. It was a great golf course, but it's got fucked up.
Yeah.
Totally. When he got
Us
involved.
driving cars around it.
Yeah, now you're going to drive cars around. I love that.
You're a
Dennis.
golfer, yeah?
I am a golfer,
Oh,
man.
sorry, I
Jesus
forgot, yeah.
Christ. I'm a golfer.
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay.
I'm an avid golfer. Although I haven't played for a while because I've got no money these days. But yeah, man.
So we're going to put the drift school there. So
Awesome.
drifting,
And that's again called Ignition B.
ignitionb.com.
Another
And,
shout out there. And
So we've got a driving school. So anybody who wants to learn to drive normal cars, motorbikes, anything else, come
that'll be a
along.
first for Indonesia.
Yes. What? Learn to drive.
They learn to drive properly, yeah. How are they going to go on the roads when if they learn how to drive properly and then they get onto the Indonesian roads?
I know,
They're going
I
to be
know.
screwed, right?
I know.
They'll
But,
be turning lefts with the.
Mate, it wouldn't be my job teaching anyone to drive. You know, how nerve-wracking would that be? But
So you've got the mind tuning, you've got the drifting going on. And what else have you got going on?
the other thing is we're going to open a stem cell lab. Well, in Bali, yeah. So I'm working with something called Health Hub Bali.
Okay,
Or Bali Health Hub.
Shout out to those
Tracy,
guys.
you know Tracy?
Yeah.
So they are putting together Bali's going to open up for medical tourism. As you know, what's it called? The Mayo Clinic.
Yeah. Well, they also dug up another golf course to put that there.
Very quickly as well.
In
See how
Sanwa.
quickly that happened.
That's gone, man.
The next day-
That's my local course.
The president came down in his chopper, and the day later they were in there.
They
with the
chopped it up, man. It's been there for
It was
50 years.
beautiful. It was like being in Canada.
So it's all your
Not my fault.
It's all your fault.
I'm nothing to do with the Mayo Clinic. We're the good guys, you know.
But Handara will be next, yeah? for something
Oh, God.
up in the north.
No.
But anyway,
They're not that desperate for land yet, are they? So, Health Hub Bali are going to integrate. They're going to medical tourism. You know, that's the next industry to open up. But they're doing it in a different way. They will start off with heat mapping, which is a device that can preempt sickness. So if it's a very precise way of finding out what might go wrong with you in the future.
okay.
So rather than wait until you're ill, they will do a heat mapping and say, well, you might need something with your kidneys, liver, organ, whatever.
Okay.
So then they do a detox thing using, what's that therapy where you take the blood out? And ozone therapy.
Yep.
Yeah, you familiar with
Well,
that?
Keith Richards kind of thing. Yeah, he's quite...
What kind of world are we going to leave behind for Keith Richards?
Exactly, man. Shout out to Keith.
So you do ozone therapy and other types of biofeedback machines.
Okay.
Because the problem is people think that, health comes at the end of a needle. It doesn't. People think if they pay the most money for the best stem cells or something. So the idea is to make the mind, the body, the detox work with psyche, work with their disposition.
And a bit of drifting for fun.
And a bit of a drift. If they're in palliative care and they're going to die anyway, we just smash them up in the cars with each other.
Dennis Sweeney, I'm going to call it. I love your shirt, by the
Yeah?
way. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
into the studio. It's been fucking awesome talking to you. Buy his book, Southpaw, on Amazon. Check out the links that he's mentioned. And how would somebody follow you on Instagram or Facebook if you're on that stuff?
I think Mind Tuning Bali, we have a Instagram.
Personally, you have any...
I kind of
LinkedIn?
took them all off because I'm trying to keep it quiet. So no, Mind Tuning Bali, I guess.
Well, I've got his number anyway. You can call
Yeah,
me.
you can ring Nigel.
Dennis
he
Sweeney.
can vet you.
Thank you so much, man. I love
Thanks
you.
for having me. All the best.